Another day, another example of left-wing star Hasan Piker acting despicably, then somehow playing the victim. Hey guys, welcome back to the show, your home for independent and nonpartisan commentary and analysis on politics, media, internet insanity, and more. This one touches on all of the above, as so many of the topics we cover here does or do, and it is Hasan Piker, because he is going viral once again, the far-left socialist streamer and influencer who has recently become kind of a political operative as well, campaigning with a number of far-left candidates who are headed for Congress or have won different nominations for the Democratic Party. So he is very much a rising tide in American politics. And he is, as a reasonable person would, responding to his increased importance and role within the party and in national politics with humility by taking a more somber tone and realize, you thought, just kidding. So he decided over the weekend to get together for a live show with some of his podcast co-hosts for the Fear and podcast and mock Charlie Kirk's death while dressed like Chairman Mao. Here's the headline: Hasan Piker mocks Charlie Kirk's death while dressed up like Chairman Mao. During the performance, Piker sang, "We are Charlie Kirk." We have the clip here of Hasan Piker singing this song, which the context is that this song was originally, it's incredibly cringe. It was made to honor Charlie Kirk, but then became adopted as like a troll song that people sing as a meme or a joke, or in some cases to like literally mock Charlie Kirk, as Hasan is doing here. He got everybody together for this live performance, and here's how he decided to dedicate some time during that performance. Let's watch. I don't think I need to play the full clip because, frankly, you get the idea, and his singing is not great, which I can't judge. I'm not a musically talented individual, but let's be clear, I can judge everything else about this, but I'm not going to judge the quality of the singing. So he then really doubled down on this, Hasan did, posting pictures from the live show and saying, "We carried the flame again in Seattle tonight." And my initial reaction to this, and then we're going to get into some of the aftermath and the response, because of course it went mega viral, it got tons of backlash, and then of course Hasan is the real victim here, as he always is. But my initial thought about this was just how deeply sad it was and how revealing, because Hasan Piker got together with his most diehard fans and with his friends who he hosts a podcast with, the Fear and podcast, for a live in-person event. And you have, an hour on stage or what have you. And that's what you decide to do with that time. You get everybody together, your most ardent supporters, and you mock a dead dude who was the victim of a horrific political assassination. That's just so bleak as an indictment of yourself and as of your own community. That's the kind of thing that you think of when you do a live show or a performance with your most diehard fans. You want to go through like a greatest hits or like the things you guys bond over the most or the best things you have to offer. And that's what Hasan Piker has to go with. And then they cheer and they love it and they find it so funny. And listen, I understand that Charlie Kirk memes have become a thing, and laughing at diabolical Instagram reels your friends send you is one thing. But when you are a public political commentator, choosing to go and do this kind of thing publicly on stage just comes off as so incredibly distasteful to me. Really, really gross, especially as we're coming up on the 1-year anniversary of Charlie Kirk's horrific murder. And it's also doubly strange and triply strange, not just because it's in such poor taste and The problem is, like, Hasan, his instant defense is, it's just a joke. You're just all triggered snowflakes or whatever. Haha. It's really not, though. I mean, he's literally said Republicans should be murdered on his stream and called for people's blood to run in the streets. So you can't, sometimes, I know he technically says when he talks about Charlie Kirk, sometimes he'll say, I don't support vigilante murder, and then he'll keep going. I understand, but sure, when your whole stream is so incredibly incendiary and you so often use violent rhetoric, you of all people shouldn't be joking about things like this. And it's just actually not a joke. That's the thing. I'm okay with dark or edgy humor, but they're actually mocking the dead dude who was murdered, and a significant percentage of the far left audience that he has believes in vigilante murder and political violence. This is demonstrated in poll after poll after poll. And it's all the more gross because Hasan met Charlie Kirk on multiple occasions, had a personal rapport with him. So, I mean, it would be gross regardless, but when you actually met someone to then do this is even more gross. And listen, I was very critical of Charlie Kirk in a lot of ways in his commentary and his career, but I know for a fact he would, if the roles were reversed here, he would not be ever on stage singing a song mocking Hasan Piker's death. Absolutely not. 0% chance that would ever happen. If you or your child spent years growing up on social media and experienced serious mental health issues, you should hear this. Recently, a jury ordered Meta and YouTube to pay millions for their role in designing and promoting addictive platforms. They knew their apps could contribute to anxiety, depression, and body image issues, but did not share those risks while prioritizing profits. The recent historic verdict underscores the consequences of those decisions. Now, Morgan & Morgan is stepping up to hold these platforms accountable for the harm they caused. Click the link in my bio to take a short quiz, as you may be entitled to a potential recovery of over $1,000. Now back to the show. Now, the other point I want to make about this is that Hasan Piker as well should, of all people, know how horrifying and how horrific and deranged and dangerous the murder of Charlie Kirk actually is and was, because he is also a political commentator with incendiary opinions and with haters and with hot takes. And it's like, I don't think maybe he just doesn't think it through, but clearly he does, as we'll come to with his deflections and responses. But he just doesn't care, or he thinks he's different somehow. But it's like, you would kind of think that even if crazy lefties in the general public might be on board with political violence, that left-wing commentators would not be, because they would see at least that, in what we do, there's a commonality in terms of putting ourselves out there, getting hate, saying controversial opinions, having the public spotlight on you. You would think that just because of their shared experience in that line of work, they would be able to understand how dangerous this kind of thing is in a democracy, and how stifling it is, and how what a horrific attack on all of society and our way of life it is. But apparently not. Apparently it's all just funny, ha ha ha. And then the other twist to this is that Hasan Piker has recently involved himself, as we've covered extensively, more and more in the actual political process. And that includes endorsing and campaigning with candidates who are now running in competitive general elections, like Abdul El Sayed in Michigan. And you have to be just such an idiot and clueless, or just totally selfish and you don't care at all, to have just campaigned with all these people and then immediately go and do something that they're now going to have to answer for, and they're going to be grilled over, and is going to hurt them. El Sayed campaigned with Hasan Piker, then they cut to the clip of you mocking Charlie Kirk's death. It's like, for what? Like, what value? This produced a chuckle haha moment with your deranged fans. It's like, okay, well, you could have done something else. And it's just, he's so clearly either is totally clueless and just totally fails to understand how things are going to go over, even when it's completely predictable that doing something like this will lead to backlash, or he literally does not care if all these candidates that he's just embraced and says he wants to win now face a huge crisis and backlash because of this. But I guess he got the attention he ordered. And ultimately, like, the number one thing Hasan Piker cares about is just Hasan Piker. And it's Hasan Piker getting attention. That's it, really, at any costs. So let's go through now his response to this, because it's going to really shock y'all. He's actually the victim here. as always, he is the victim. So first I want to read you a tweet that Hasan put out justifying this and trying to do damage control. He said, repeating this once again, since the Pearl Clutchers are back on the timeline. And this is an old tweet where he said, this is part of the reason why the We Are Charlie Kirk and Kirkification memes went insanely viral. You can't mandate reverence for a generation that saw their classmates get slaughtered in school shootings. So there's so many things wrong with this that I don't really know where to begin. First is the idea that because school shootings exist, you can also be a terrible person and mock people getting murdered doesn't quite follow for me, especially because it's predicated on two false assumptions here, or two false assertions. One is that most or even a significant percentage of young people saw their classmates get slaughtered in school shootings. School shootings are horrific, and they certainly happen in America more than any other country, but they're incredibly statistically rare nonetheless. And 99.9% of Gen Zers do not personally know someone who was killed in a school shooting. That's absolutely statistically and factually false. So the idea that therefore, well, they're just so jaded and embittered because of school shootings they've all witnessed isn't a thing. And also, he's again engaging in bad faith on this. The reason these memes have become popular, and it's fine for me to sing and dance on stage making fun of Charlie Kirk's murder, is because you can't mandate reverence for Charlie Kirk. Now, listen, obviously there were some people who were hounded or harassed simply for saying bad things about Charlie Kirk, and I talked about that at the time. I think people who supported his murder or called for violence deserve to get backlash and called out, but I think people who just said unkind things about him or were harshly critical about him as a person after his death shouldn't be canceled like that. However, the idea that anyone is asking you to observe mandatory reverence of Charlie Kirk seems like a straw man. He could have gone on stage, and if for whatever reason he has to have Charlie Kirk in his mouth, said he disagrees with the murder, but then criticized his politics or his legacy, and some people might get upset about it, but they would have far less merit to that complaint, and it certainly wouldn't have gone mega viral like this. It's not that Hasan Piker is being hit with mandatory reverence for Charlie Kirk. People just don't like that you sang and danced on stage mocking his assassination. You see how there's like a universe of space between mandatory reverence and don't be a piece of shit like that. There's a huge middle there that he could have occupied. And so this is just a totally bad faith deflection on so many levels. But the real reason, you have to understand, the real reason people are upset that he mocked a political assassination target in front of his fans on stage is because they actually want him killed. Because he is, of course, as is in any situation where he gets any criticism, the real victim. Watch this clip from Hasan's stream where he explains this.
The whole point is they're trying to get someone activated enough to come and kill me. Okay?
Oh my God.
That's it. It is so that it is a lesson for all to see and hear and acknowledge. There are certain forces you are not supposed to mess with in society. Okay? You're not supposed to go after corporate interests that hard.
Oh my God.
You're not supposed to go after Israel that hard. Your voices should never be heard. Because at the end of the day,
what?
I am simply a megaphone. Okay? I am just a megaphone for your anger. I am just a platform for your frustrations. They obviously can't go after all of us. So what they're trying to do is take care of someone who is a large enough platform.
Oh my God, he is just insufferable in so many ways. But I want to say this again clearly, because I am not like Hasan Piker. I don't want any harm or violence to come to him. I would love for him to fade into obscurity and lose all relevance and have nobody watch him anymore, because I think he's such a noxious and toxic force in our politics and our discourse, but I don't want him harmed in any way. I would condemn anybody who's calling for that. And if something happened to him, I would think it is absolutely horrible. Now that said, you can't do this. You can't do something obviously objectionable to troll people, and then when they get mad, say they want you killed. There is no evidence of that. I've seen, I've been watching over the last day or two the media coverage and the online commentary about the backlash to Charlie Kirk, to Hasan mocking Charlie Kirk like this on stage. I haven't seen anyone calling for violence. I'm sure there's a few people out there, but it's like that is not the main thrust of what's happening here. Now, what they're trying to do is tie you to the Democratic candidates they want to lose, and that's fair because those candidates chose to campaign with you and should have known better. But the flip side is that maybe if he's so concerned about possibly being targeted in if Hasan is, a horrific act of political violence or someone coming to get him or anything like that, which again, I think is horrible and should absolutely never happen under any circumstances, maybe he should stop fanning the flames of political violence over and over and over again. This is so crazy. This is like you are actively one of the most prominent contributors to a problem that you are then complaining you are a victim and a target of. I still don't want him to be victimized by it or targeted by it. But for goodness sakes, man, you're the one making this worse and worse and worse by calling for people to be murdered on your stream, by calling for the frickin' blood of landlords to run down the streets, by mocking and memeing about assassination victims. It's like, of all people, you have, with the size of your platform, you're among the top greatest number of people who have actually contributed to this out of control culture and atmosphere. So I don't want it to come for Hasan Piker. I would never celebrate that. I would never call for it. I would never support it in any way, shape, or form. But maybe he should spend less time playing the victim after doing something outrageous and then people get offended by it, and more time reflecting on his own extremely disgusting conduct and rhetoric that has helped to bring us to this point where political violence is a threat for people on both sides of the aisle. I just find him to be so reprehensible, and I really don't get the appeal. Gosh, what a sad and toxic display this all was. But that's just my take on the situation. You guys will have to let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you aren't yet, and do consider becoming a channel member here on YouTube. It's the best way to support my content. I call it the far left and the far right, which is not always the best business model, so I do need support from viewers like you. Hit the join button to help me out, and go check out that Morgan & Morgan survey link down below. It'll really help me out. Now, guys, we'll leave it there for now and be back with more real soon.